How's it going, Reliance? Welcome back to another Skyforge video. I'm your host, Unkept Jupiter, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion here talking about some viewpoints of Skyforge. I've got a couple of veteran players here who want to give their position on Skyforge, some ideas that they might have for some people to listen to and to sort of give recognition for as well. So first off, we're gonna go ahead and hand the mic over to Crazy Pickle. Go ahead and introduce yourself, actually, Crazy.
All right, hey guys, I'm Crazy Pickle. I'm making videos for the Skyforge at the moment. So I'm playing the game for about 5 years, I would say. Some later in the game, I was kind of like on and off, but in general, it's 5 years. And I went through different stages of the game. It was a lot of changes, a lot of new things, nerfs, and all that happy stuff. And it's some of them I was okay, some of them were completely disappointing, and but we have to deal with that. We were adjusting, we kind of get used to that, and we just forgot about it. But what happens that from the end game player, there's definitely a lack of content for that part, especially for amount of years that Skyforge exists, and specifically from the time when the last invasion was released, which was demons. After that, it just pretty much nothing happens. They tried to come up with the Mentide's distortions as a warm up for 5 men, but then they failed because a bunch of bugs and stuff like that. And
Interesting.
so that's one of the problems. It's just simply put it, it's lack of content. There's certain things you can do, and it's only fun to do it if you have either friends or constant same people in your pantheon, whatever, that you
Yeah.
do stuff every day and stuff like that. So that's the only one good thing, that there's always people that you spend a lot of times with them, and it's fun to play. But in general, it would be like, okay, I just did my daily, log off, bye, see you next day,
Right.
something like that. So,
Okay.
and Skyforge has a lot of potential, to add to end game and other part of the game, beginner and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things you can do. It's just for some reason the devs are just not seeing it. I'm not sure if they're listening.
Hmm.
Partially they do, partially they don't. And whoever's in charge, what's going to be released and how to do it, what's create and stuff like that. So it's just
Yeah.
that person is just, yeah,
Yeah. And after a
just
certain
don't
amount of
listen.
years, you would expect something to happen. If the community is talking about this stuff for the past, like you said, it's been out for so long. Where's the change from the dev side? I can see that definitely um, sort of causing concern for some of the veteran players.
Yep, that's what happens. And I know a lot of actually, veteran players who actually quit the game either recently or a long time ago, just simply because there's nothing else for them to do as an end game player. And it technically, a lot of you probably noticed that some people actually saying it feels like it's a mobile game. You logged in, you did your daily, there is nothing else to do, you log off. So wait for the next day, do the same stuff, log off. So and it feels like it definitely, like, I agree with those people who said it feels like it's a mobile game.
Yeah. How about you, Neo? Care to share any thoughts?
I agree on most part. Crazy Pickle just said. Yeah, it's just pretty boring and repetitive content they're bringing out. Just when you did most raids and invasions, you start over again. You're just getting in this circle of boring content, and you're just gonna wait until they bring out new content. Like Crazy Pickle mentioned, they released G1, G2. They were great credit farms, but then they just uh, died out and they were removed. I'm not here to repeat his whole story, but yeah, it's just very boring overall. I mean, there's nothing new. If you played this game for 1 year, and I'm sure you are because you want to be like useful in end game, you have to play the game for more than 1 year unless you're putting a lot of cash into victor medals. But let's say you're not doing that. I just want to say devs have been making bad decisions over and over again,
Hmm.
and I don't think they're listening to the community. Well, I'm not sure what's happening in the Russian Discord,
Right.
but since everything goes through Russia, there's nothing we can say. Yeah, we can report stuff to Elder Guardians, but it's high likely not getting anything out of it. 'Cause,
Hmm.
they say they're like this bridge between community and devs, but only thing they can do is send a ticket. To be honest, I'm not here
Well,
to rant the Guardians. To be honest,
yeah, to make that a little bit more, understandable, what exactly Elder Guardians, community managers from old, let's say, might.com doing, and then obviously, as Neo said, it all comes from Russia. Majority of feedback also come from Russia, so majority of Russian people actually give a lot of feedback to the devs, and technically devs gives more perspective for them to give
Hmm.
their advice, their feedbacks, to apply something to the game. So that's why like NA EU servers sometimes just not struggling. What's that other word for it? Uh, Dealing with all the crap, because they only listen one side of the one side of the game, but not the other. And what happens that, when we as a NA or EU server gives the feedbacks, maybe we forward in through Elder Guardians, or we can contact maybe community manager and like, look, this is what my feedback. Sometimes they do some surveys, so you can do it right there as well. But what happens, so they gather in all of the information. I'm pretty sure they sort in all that information as well. They see what actually could be done, and it's reasonable, so, and it has a lot of explanation. So when people just add this to the game, well, give me an explanation, what exactly, like, every detail, because I can give you the general right idea, but you have to come up with something more detailed that we will forward it. And dev's like, okay, maybe we're not going to do exactly as you said, but we'll pick a few things from what you just said,
Hmm.
and we're just going to apply it to a certain thing, right?
Yeah.
Kind of something like that. So that's why when I made one of the videos, and it was also the giveaway at that time, so that I was asking people to, when you leave your suggestion, that make it as more detailed as possible. So
Yeah. And Neo, you said that the devs have made some bad decisions in the past with some of their updates and stuff. Do you want to give me an example of maybe a bad decision that you're talking about?
era era is just I mean I like the symbols, but yeah, basically from my point of view, you have everything already. There's nothing you're gonna do unless there's a new class because you but farming those three symbols isn't very hard. During then you're just gonna leave there because there's nothing to do. You can do Heart of the City, but there's nothing. There's no good reward or anything. They're not giving you purple gear. It's not a credit farm. Same goes for Toxic Wasteland, and Toxic Wasteland is even more annoying than Heart of the City. Uh, when I see that in Nightmare Directive, I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to waste my time on Draconids. Oh, sure, it's doable, but I'm not gonna waste my time doing this content that's just completely useless to us. For example, you can do Nightmare Farm. You can get a lot of credits, like I mentioned before in your streams. If you, for example, they had to nerf something like Avestan Power. You could get a lot of credits, even with the kinetic, the shield or something, the some
they
sort of
fixed that.
barrier. Yeah, they fixed that. You could just spam that and kill all the enemies really fast. It doesn't even matter if you have a pack weapon or if you have a purple weapon. You could clear that really fast. Uh, yeah, and I think nightmares are somewhat grindy, but I think the game needed that. Also, I think it's really boring. Again, boring because you just do your daily things. Like Crazy Pickle said, it feels like a mobile game. You do your daily stuff, you do your directives. Well, now it's of course changed because you're not gonna do your 1 million on doing group directives, but nightmares.
Hmm.
And I think it's just repetitive. That's why people take breaks or even quit the game and decide never to come back. And this happened before. Like my pantheon consists of these people, even content creators that don't even look back. Some of them logged on just to see the atlas, but completely dropped the game after once they saw the stuff because the invasion atlas looks like the old class atlas, to be honest. And uh, people get bored, and that's the main problem of everything. If you, uh, yeah, I don't know what the player base on Russia, probably higher than on EU, NA, PC, or console.
Hmm.
Uh, there's just people leaving or having a loss on the player base. It's really hard, especially for NA on PC because I know the player base is lower than on EU.
Yep.
Like I've heard people move from NA to EU because there's just people in the observatory because theirs is just empty. Also, there's people hiding in regions, and they also have this group chat called Server General or Universal. You don't see them often in observatory, but it's way more less than what you have on EU. And their main source, because this game has a company, they need to make money. And if you're losing player base, I don't understand. They have to figure out something to make these players not quit. There's been people since 2015, like when the game just got released and stuff with Old Atlas, are just sick of this game. They're like, I'm not kidding. They just wanna uh, uninstall the game fast as possible because either just gonna drop the game completely or they're gonna do the same stuff over and over again and get more sick of this game. Because I don't see purpose in anything right now. I'm not here to rant Skyforge because it's something that's uh, keeping me hooked over the years. Take for example the concept of Skyforge. It's amazing, but there are just some things that are keeping it from being great. You know. Uh,
What I can actually add to this, especially for the part, what the devs make bad decisions. The
Right.
problem what they doing is they create something, then it's understandable that something new when you add to the game, there will be bugs, there will be glitches, there will be
Yeah.
some exploits. It's understandable, right?
Yeah.
But it has to
Especially
be
especially in an MMO where
yeah.
there's this humongous gap of power between half of the community is pretty much split straight down the middle. You've got your people who are playing the game that have been playing it for forever and they've got pretty much everything, right? And then you've got your entire other part of the community which is either returning players who are now shoved into the new player category where they're not able to reach that content. Yeah, you're
Hmm.
definitely going to have some issues when something new is added.
Yep. Yep. And what happens that they stuck in a loop,
Yeah.
meaning that they create something new, there was some bugs, whatever they could fix it, whatever that easily to fix, they fix it. Whatever is more complex, instead of fixing it, instead of finding actual root of the problem, they simply nerfing it. So that we're like, oh, okay, they nerfed it, we cannot use that exploit bug, whatever. But I mean, it's still there, right? You never know what's gonna happen after next big update. Maybe it will come back, and you're not gonna know about it until somebody will report it again. But this is where they stuck in a loop. It also applies to the classes. It also applies to the content, to the new whatever the planets, stuff like that. So it all applies to everything. When they cannot find the root of the problem and they cannot fix it, then they just nerf it, and it just keep going, keep going, keep going, and keep going.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Um, so my point of view here is from I'm a I'm a returning player. I've played the game since it came out on PS4, and I played the game for a little bit. Kind of hit a point where I kind of didn't know where to go once I hit that point. Right, I was going through my yellow brick road. I did my all the storyline missions and stuff like that. And after that, there was kind of this moment where the game boosts you to this sort of higher level, I guess, to start actually doing the content and to start, you pretty much unlocked hard mode at that point. And from the standpoint of a new player, activating hard mode when I don't even have all of the mechanics of the game available to me. Because I mean, there's one thing that I can give Skyforge credit for is their different mechanics are. It's actually really intuitive. A lot of it is, which is why I think a lot of people would agree that Skyforge has so much potential as a really fun MMORPG game. Uh,
Yep.
Looking at the way that they have these weapons, these classes, the way that you do damage, it's not a set rotation. It's based off of, you know, you have the potential to do a lot of damage if you do it this way, and now you have your charge ready, so you have to choose between now in your damage rotation to switch it up to do maybe get a humongous burst of damage here, or do you wait? There's a lot of mechanics sort of in there, and then there's also mechanics that you unlock, such as symbols and things like that you have to grind to unlock those things. Which, I mean, it's an MMORPG. I understand that there's going to be a lot for you to grind and stuff. The part where I feel there might be an issue coming in is that once you're set to this hard mode, you can't undo it. You can't undo this, okay, now the game's going to be harder for you. You can't make the game easy for you so you can sort of get to a different level to then set it yourself to a harder mode to then maybe get more rewards for dealing with a little bit of a harder mission, things like that. And from that standpoint alone, I feel like a lot of things could change if you could set the difficulty of your missions, which I think there used to be a way that you could do that way back when the game first came out, at least on PS4. You had different levels of missions that you could do that were like the same
Yeah.
mission. And that's been changed now because the game's been out, and the max rank is a little bit higher and a little bit higher each time, which is how all MMOs work. As time goes on, they release new gear that makes the old gear insubstantial, so you can go out and farm for the new gear, so on and so forth. And as a returning player, I have the understanding of, okay, the game is going to be a little bit more difficult. The game's going to sort of hit me with some difficulties here, because that's just how the game is. But new players don't know that. New players don't foresee that, hey, this game's really fun. You do Yellow Brick Road, and then all of a sudden, I can't do anything in the game
Yep.
that I used to do. And
Yeah.
it's really out of nowhere, which, hopefully, it gets addressed by someone, either like you guys said, in the Russian server and whatnot. But I also think that also means that us here in NA or EU, wherever we are, the community of Skyforge, we need to be that much louder to make sure that our voices are heard as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of us do like the premise of Skyforge. I actually know a lot of people who don't like Skyforge because of the way that it is, but they're sad because they're sad that they don't like it because they want it to be better, because they would totally drop what they're doing and whatever other game they're playing, Black Desert Online, they would totally drop that game in an instant to come play a Skyforge that is much better than what it is. Something, that where they bring the content that the older players are looking for, or they make the leveling system, currently it doesn't really make much sense,
Yeah,
Maybe.
there is simply no bridge between when you just start the game while you're doing provinces and when you become a junior god. So there is no that little bridge between that part of the game and when you know and after the junior god uh, part of the game. So
Yeah.
there should be a slight bridge. You know what I was thinking that in order for them to actually do slight progression that you while you're progressing through provinces you instead of making a catch-up system after the junior god because it completely doesn't make any sense because people are like,
Right.
well, I can't do it, I can't get my items to increase my tower, my cathedral, my stronghold because I'm freaking weak, right? And I don't have credits to do the stats, I don't have like anybody who can help me, whatever there is, maybe there's a different time zone when everybody sleeps, that person plays, who knows.
Yeah.
But there should be catch-up system should be a little bit earlier. It doesn't have to be like the entire catch-up system just before you get your junior god form,
Right.
but at least partially that will bring you to the point that when you become a junior god, you're gonna be able to farm bunch of credits if you wanted to. It's pretty much gonna be up to you if you want to grind early in the game before your junior god to
Hmm.
set up credits, knowledge of enemies, all the resources you need, and then you become a junior god. Okay, now I can get my gear and I can work on it and it'll become stronger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what the game is missing, to be honest. Like people just want to get rewarded, you know. Like it doesn't even matter if it's something that's quite easy. Like rewards in general, people like that, and still doing Skyforge, your dailies and stuff, I feel quite pointless because progress, there is progress, of course. The
Hmm.
feeling of you progressing is like least you can expect. If you do like the catch up on Cathedral is really good right now. Like 10K followers per pilgrimage permit is great. Like that feels like a good reward. But if you have those things maxed, you want to do stuff on your stronghold. Well, you can receive catch up, of course, but uh, if you're just gonna have to do it with the 35 or the 16 variant, correct me if I'm wrong. That's gonna take a hell of a ride to even come close. And then you need luck to have stronghold resources on the right block you can farm, either groups or invasion. Uh, Also, on top of that, your point of view was like you're returning and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, you have to update your gear. You have to get back into thing like a lot of main damage again because without main damage, you're not gonna deal any damage, clear
Hmm.
stuff fast, and armor fracture, etc.
Yeah.
Also, um, you don't need difficult. You can, of course, but for now you're playing most mainly skilled, so it's kind of useless updating your gear each invasion if you're going to play skill. Of course, you have to do it over time because the CS values are getting low. But that's also a big problem because if you can't get your CS high, other than doing nightmares, but what if you don't have access to those? You're gonna get stuck in operations. Well, unless there's someone that isn't max rank or close to
Hmm.
max rank. Because if you get into a busy operation thing, you can have people that reach 500 points. You can have people that reach 1 million points
Yeah.
in one run. Yeah, and that's totally unfair for people that don't have access to those things. I guess they had to do something with giving idols, but I don't think it's the right decision to. If you want to get more, you have to spend your argents. And then I think that's totally unnecessary. And I know this is a company; they need to make money in some way, but I don't think the way the system is right now, getting your damage higher to clear certain stuff because that's what we want. Same goes for newer players. Yeah, they just need to change up how to get CS other than doing operations, like giving at least more for clearing the invasion directive or uh, having some sort of extra catch up, when you're really low on a certain point of CS, you're getting more than normal until you're back to the what they expect you to be.
Yeah.
Like before, you had a cap on CS, so you couldn't do any more special troops, or I mean, you wouldn't receive any combat superiority after that point. I mean, that was great because also the newer player base do that. It was something accessible to them too, and having nightmares around like close to cap rank is just really annoying to get CS in general. Them at least. Like for me, it's you do your daily nightmares and stuff, and you ask around who has what, and you go to, for example, on NA, you can ask server general or something or universal. It's uh yeah.
So you're talking about CS as a superiority, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I would at least disagree on superiority. Superiority as a stat doesn't play a huge role for let's say for example even a new player. So let's say you become a junior god, right? All of it dropped right in your face. The whatever that stuff unlocks invasion atlas, distortions. It gives you small like, oh, you unlock this thing. Go check it out, stuff like that. But as far as I know, that superiority as a stat doesn't play a huge role.
Hmm.
It does play a huge role for more of a like mid player and or end game, because they need that extra boost to deal more damage to like raids and distortions and avatar and stuff like that. But as a new player, I don't think it will impact you that good as compared to the end game,
Hmm.
because all your damage simply comes from your stats. At least for the new player, the time you become a junior god, from that period of time until you reach maybe, I don't know, like 400,000 might, then until then, your stats, key stats and secondary stats, most like 90% of that is play a huge role. So if you don't have those stats that you need for the gear, like main damage, possibly general defense, because if as a new player, a lot of people have no idea animation when the boss or some kind of an enemy will do the big attack. You
Yeah.
can avoid it, you got smacked, you're dead. So like you kind of have to consider that as well. But as a superiority for the new player, it doesn't give a lot of impact on the new player, but only the stats. Yeah, like you can be lower might, but you have all your pieces of gear with the right stats. You'll be way more efficient if you have, for example, no like random stats, couple of main damage here, whatever, that like completely random stats, and maybe like pretty good superiority.
Yeah.
But there is a difference when having around 10 CS ranks and having 3 CS ranks, not only for invasion, but like raids. Take it, for example, if you want to kill ops on Terra, if you want to farm like what's the resource again? The name for it. Just you want to farm Ether, yes, Ether. If you want to kill those enemies, uh, and you have like around 25 CS, your DPS comes like way higher than a normal. Does make a difference on how much you're dealing. Of course, it's not a lot, and when as new player you don't have access to, well, not yet immediately, but later on you receive this item upgrade stuff, and like you mentioned, uh, having the right stats because they removed sparks of perfection from the shop to make the game harder. Same goes for Rebirth Flames, which is an obnoxious way of thinking. Not having the resources to max unless you cash into an E9 event to get on the second page because it's high likely they have sparks of perfection on the second page around first 100 progress points. But uh, it's just really stupid to have a system like this uh, when you already uh, thrown into this wild ride of having a junior god. And I do think it needs some work, even after the gonna make PvP more accessible and stuff. We're gonna add a happy hour. Well, it's still garbage to be honest. Like PvP is just fire starters mainly. They're good and stuff. Of course, I'm not gonna rant people that use fire starter because it deals damage. It's good class and stuff. But as a new player, you don't want to keep losing over and over again because that's basically reset. You have to reset your mantle playing this game after you've done a happy hour. You kept queuing against teammates or something else. Like Crazy Pickle mentioned in his video, new players should not be thrown into PvP once they reach Junior God to receive their new gear. There must be another way to do this because it's basically you're losing players from both sides, either endgame or those people that are on that bridge on, I call it the ceiling, whether they're gonna break through or just not gonna break through and drop the game forever.
Hmm.
And I think that's the main problem right here. Uh, like I said, Skyforge, great concept. There are some issues that are keeping it from being great.
Yeah. And so, since this is getting a little long-winded here, I'm gonna go ahead and sort of, I guess, we'll all present sort of our conclusions, I guess, of today's topic, which I'll just repeat it again since we've gone over a lot of things. There's a lot to digest here. But today's topic was on the availability of the content that Skyforge has, and I think generally we all agree that Skyforge could use a little bit more content for people to go through for the veteran players, but also the content that's available for the players who are returning and some of the new joining players. It sounds like it's a little limited as far as what they can sort of handle, because there's no way to adjust the difficulty of that content, right?
Yeah, that's true. It also depends as a returning player, like where you actually at.
Yeah.
Like how long you, let's say, haven't played, how many invasions you skipped, since it rotates every 2 months. Every new invasion, it goes one generation up. So I'm assuming, let's say, if you like, skipped two invasions, it's not gonna be that bad. You're gonna be still pretty good and still clearing missions and getting whatever gear you need to get, even on your own. But if you skip like at least a year or so, it's really hard to tell as well, because whatever the changes will happen during that year,
Right.
may impact you badly, because there's some major changes was made. So
Yeah.
Also, it depends on how far you've progressed on your Hall of Trophies, because uh, you can catch up easy if you have all your might upgrades. It's not gonna be very hard to get to main rank again. But for the people that don't have every might upgrade, it's really hard, and yeah, you fall back into this. I cannot clear this stuff. Help me! I cannot do enough DPS. Like maybe your stats are still good, but your CS is quite low because your gear is probably 1 year old or something. Uh, yeah, just the way it is right now, you cannot drop the game. Well, you can, of course, but it's high likely you get behind, and having to choose between those is a big decision if you want to quit the game for good, or you are stuck and chained to this game. You don't like the game, but you have to because there's no stop button. Because the game always moves forward into with new gear, new might cap, etc.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming here. Appreciate you guys coming in here and taking the time out of your day to have these discussions with me. I really appreciate it. Feel free to tune in for next week's topic of discussion. I'm going to be posting that in the join the Orbit Discord. You guys can join it. It's going to be in the description below. And if you guys want to join these discussions, feel free to join that. And I will be posting the topic of next week there. So I hope you guys come in and check it out. And thanks for watching.